Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian. Welcome back to Movie Reviews and More. We're on TV.tv, iTunes 247 at 10 Franklin, Tennessee. I'm so excited and can't even get the words out. And Women's Broadcast TV Network, because this is part two of a part one, part two. So when we left off, obviously we have Ira Black. We have the one and only Jessica Chase, who's got one of those great eyes that I like to see, especially with all the stuff that she does behind the scenes. We're going to get more into that. And none other than one of my other co-hosts, Joey Nelson out of British Columbia. So when we left off, a cliffhanger, where were we, Ira? What were you doing? And what country were you doing when you were in?
Well, here we are in Belgium. You saw in part one the big lead up of how all this whirlwind of stuff came together, it just like flying by the seat of my pants.
Fighting on the side of the stage.
Yeah, so I got to the point where I had everything aligned, and the production manager. And look, I don't want to paint him as a bad person or anything. Eventually, A, he let me do it, and B, he was just doing his job. And I totally understand that because, I've been doing this long enough to know too. So I know I was trying to bend rules, and I am a rule bender. I play rock and roll for a living. Yeah. What do you expect, So here I am. I finally, after arguing with this guy, convince him after several conversations. I mean, I went back to her, and she's like, "Is everything all right?" "Oh yeah, it's fine." I'm sitting there going, "Oh, I'm stewing. Like I still got to go talk to this guy and like convince him." So I go back and like, "Let me talk to you." And I'll never forget this. Like I go to the other side because that's where he was, and this is like I think the second or third time, probably the third time I'm talking to him. And I'm like getting ready to call him over, and then all of a sudden Jonathan Davis comes back and he's getting his bagpipes, and this guy's helping him put the bagpipes. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't. That guy's gonna kill me. I can't, keep stopping his workflow. He's helping Jonathan get the bagpipes on. He's going out. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to talk to this guy. And he's like right in the middle of doing this. So I'm being patient, not getting in the way. I'm just like, okay. So he finally gets that over done. He comes over. He goes, "I told you it's not happening." I said, "Look, man, I've come a long way to get to this point. Let's figure this out, And I go, they finished their show, and there's a fireworks show. I know because that happened the night before when we were there, because this was the second night of the festival. It's a fireworks show. It happens right after. He goes, "Look, as soon as the fireworks show, because as soon as their show's over and they have the fireworks, then stage isn't mine anymore. You can do it then, Okay, and that's still right after the band. And Head and Ray are already in the know. Well, the other guys are as well, which I found out later. And so I'm like, okay, this is going to happen because the guys in the band didn't know this was going on anyways. And they already told me that they were going to call me out at the end of the show anyway. So I'm like, you know what? As long as I got the production manager to clear this. So I call up Mario from the Alcatraz Fest. And I'm like, okay, it's a go. He goes, "Ira, no offense, but I have to hear, can you put the production manager on the phone? I have to hear him say it's a go." And I'm like, oh my God, this guy already wants to kill me. He already wants to kill me, And Jessica's seeing some of this stuff go on, like, man, you're got a lot going on. We're trying to watch Corn. What's up, So I go back to the production manager, and I'm like, "Hey, Mario's on the phone from Alcatraz. He just wants to hear that everything's a go." And he's like, oh, he's all kind of mad at me. And he goes, he grabs my phone. He goes, "Yes, it's a go." And I'm like, "Okay, you got that?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, holy shit, So I go back over. Now it's a go. I'm like, oh my God. Now we're standing on the side of the stage. Now I'm like, okay, it's a go, but I don't really have a plan. You know what? I didn't even have a ring. If you watched the video, did I pull out a ring? I did not. I mean, I was going a million miles an hour to the point where I didn't even have time to do it. I mean, like I said, I was on the airplane thinking I was going to marry her there. And I'm like, I didn't even propose to her yet. Like, I'm such an Aries sometimes when it comes to this, I'm in love and I'm like, I'm doing this,
Oh my God.
So, it dawned on me like right before I went out, like probably like I knew it was their last song because I saw the set list. I'm like, this is the last song. And I'm like, they're going to call me out. How am I going to do this, And I all of a sudden it popped in my mind, what's the first song on their first record. The first song I ever heard from them, the world ever heard from, they put on the first Korn record, and the band comes in, you know, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And what does the singer say? What are the first words the singer says that anyone ever heard from Korn? 3 words. Okay, so da-da-da-da, and the singer goes, "Are you ready?"
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn that into my proposal. There it is right there. Are you ready? So they finish up, the fireworks show's going, and I'm like, oh my God. So I go back behind the drum kit and I put my phone to Facebook Live. So I already started filming. I got it all set, and I walk up, and a head walks up to me behind the kit with Ray, and they're all excited. It's almost like they're more excited about this than their show. They're all amped up, like, dude, are you ready? Are you ready? And then head walks up, and I never forget this. Head goes, "Hey, Ira, did you hear at the end of the set I played some arpeggios for you? You know, on the guitar." And I'm like, I go, "Oh, dude, that's awesome." He goes, I go, "I'm more of a shredder than an arpeggio guy." I was just kind of kidding around with him. He's like, "Oh, okay." You know. Anyway, I go, "I'm on Facebook Live right now." He's like, "Right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Give me your phone." So he takes my phone, and then Ray's got his phone going, and now Jessica's watching me because now the band's over, and then people are starting to move around a little bit. But you know, fireworks show's going off, and Jessica's like, "What's going on? You know, why are they grabbing his phone and stuff?" And
It was weird.
yeah,
I was like,
she's
I had
like,
no idea.
like, what the hell's going on? So then the fireworks show ends, and then Head runs out, and he's like, and you can see the video where he calls me out. "Hey, you know, the show's not over. You know, Ira from Iron Morbid has something to tell y'all." So all of a sudden, I look at Jessica, and she's like, "What the heck?" And I grab her hand, and I start pulling her out, and you can see the video. She's
I'm like, no.
she's like hesitant.
You know,
she's like, I'm pulling her out. She's like, no, what? I'm like dragging her. She's like, what's going on? You know, and I'll let her tell her part here because
so he's dragging me out there, and I thought, what's he doing? Like, we're gonna go out and take a selfie or something with the whole 30,000 people, and you know, and outside festival. I thought, what's going on? Like, it was bizarre, and I'm a little like, not stage fright, but I'm not a stage person. Like, I'll be on the side of the stage or in front of the stage, and he's dragging me out, and then all of a sudden I'm just out there, and I'm like looking at 30,000 people and all the lights, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, what's going on? And then he grabs this.
Yeah, he grabbed Jonathan's mic, you know, and I'm like, "Are you ready?" You know, and I'm like, "Okay, there's the Korn thing." And I say, "Well, I am, and I hope she is." And I look at her, and she's like, "What the heck is going on? Why is she on the mic?" And I'm like, "What are you hearing?" She's like,
I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was awesome.
The guys in Korn were awesome.
Yeah.
They filmed it all. They were all excited about it. And Monkey was making sound effects in the background, and the production manager had, the lights going and stuff. And then
Brian,
she hadn't even answered yet.
Yeah,
and her and I are hugging like she already said yes. Yeah. I'm like hugging her, and it's like that. Once again, my mind's going a million miles an hour. She hadn't even answered me yet, and she's just blown away. We're in the moment, and then Brian comes over to Mikey. He grabs Mike. He's like, "No, wait, what's the answer?"
Right.
Like, she's like, "Yes."
And then he had the whole crowd screaming, cheering.
I go back over to Mike's stand. I'm like, yes, and everyone's cheering. And then the production manager had the smoke machines and the lights going. And we didn't even really have a pre-discussion about those details. He just did it, you know. It's like he knew I was going to do this. I got to go ahead. So that was kind of his surprise in a way. Because when I saw the video, I'm like, I mean, this looks like I planned this thing like, you know, like with time, you know. I mean, this was this was all just happening in real time pretty much.
Yeah, and when I look back at it and stuff, and then I can just see all the things that he was doing to prepare for it, like all the little things, like talking secretively to people, and like we're not like that at all. Like, you know, we usually know like what we're talking to who about, and it's not, you know. And I'm like, what is he doing? Is he getting us? He's gonna get us kicked out from behind the stage at Korn. He looked like, you know, he's a pretty passionate guy, right? He's like really like, you know, not arguing, but like really trying to make his point clear. I'm going, oh my God, you know, what is going on?
And then what did we do the next morning? We got up bright and early the next morning, jumped on a train to Paris, and we had a week in Paris. And
and by that time our video was gone viral, and all our friends, so we just didn't sleep that night. Our phone was just blowing up from the internet, and then I got a call from a film crew. They wanted to like do a Bridezilla episode based on our story, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't say yes because like I'm not a Bridezilla. Like I'm not like.
That's a show where the bride complains.
She complains all the time.
Fights with all her friends.
She fights with all her friends. And I was like, nah, you know, it'd be funny, but I mean, it wouldn't be me. People would be like, what is Jessica doing? Like that's not me. Like I'm total, like, you know, love my girlfriends, you know, total, you know, supporting women, all that stuff. I'm like, I am not a Bridezilla.
Now let me tell you what I saw from this. What I saw was like, this is a great photo. Jessica would have taken this photo, but Jessica didn't take the photo because Jessica's in it. And I'm like, but this is how Jessica would have seen it in my eyes. And I'm like, well, who took the photo? I was thinking, you know, because it was what you would have seen, you know?
Yeah, well, we had like, there were pro cameras there, of course, like Ira was saying, from Alcatraz, but a lot of that stuff just came off our phones, and Ray Luzier was filming the whole thing from his phone, and Brian, you know, had Ira's
and then the
phone.
festival had 5 cameras or something like that, filming the whole thing. So we got my Facebook Live version, Ray Luzier's version, and then the festival a week or something later put out their own version of it, where it was like, you could see the far away pan shot when Brian comes out on stage. It started with the fireworks show. So that was a whole nother version. We're like, oh my God, this is included. You know, it's like, it just gold kept coming out left and right.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten married yet. We're you know, we're not married, but we have, like, it's like, how do you like one up that? Right? I mean, like that's the biggest like rock and roll story proposal.
But we actually totally, and we actually just did we're part of a documentary that festival is putting together. It's probably literally just about done. It's probably done already because we did an interview for the documentary about 3 weeks ago on Zoom like this, and we recanted the whole story and stuff. And I think it's the second weekend of August is when the Alcatraz Fest happens. So this year it's canceled. So during the weekend, they're going to air this thing all weekend, this documentary they're making with all the.
Oh, great.
Tell them that Brian from Movie Reviews and More wants to review it.
Yeah. So I'll make sure you have the link and you can watch it live when it comes out. But I think it's the second weekend in August, I believe. I mean, right around the corner, you know, like.
Yeah, it'll be what, 2 years, 3 years? 3 years, I think. Yeah, 3 years. Yeah.
And some people ask, well, how come you haven't got married yet? It's a common question. You know, I've been very busy. I mean, we have busy lives. You know, we have 3 kids, 5 cats. Let's start there. That's number 1. Number 2, you know, me being a very busy musician, I've had some of my best years of touring the past few years. So I've been pretty much nonstop. I'll come home. I'm home for 2 weeks. And I'm out again for 6 weeks. And I come home for a week. Then I'm playing in multiple bands and stuff. And I was playing with I Am Morbid and Dawkins simultaneously.
Yeah.
You know, so I was doing back-to-back stuff, almost like I've never done. Well, I've done it before in the past, but it's been pretty grueling, you know. So
Ira and Jessica, talk about this, because a lot of people don't know what it's like to go on tour. I marched with the Drum and Bugle Corps going on tour, and in a month and a half, 10,000, 13,000 miles with kids is not easy. It's even more difficult when you're in that band, never mind being in 2 bands. Talk about what that's like, and then Jessica, from your point of view, because you're the one doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't understand what that takes to make that happen and to keep that relation going strong like you guys have.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a real challenge for sure. Well, I mean, you know, first of all, when you're with a busy musician, you know, you really have to accept the way that their life is, and that's just what they do. You can't control that really. You can't pretend that you can control it. All that the best way that I've learned how to be in this relationship when it comes to touring is just to accept the way that it is, and to, you know, be a part of it the best that I can without being like, you know, a wet blanket or a problem for him, because there is nothing worse, I think. You know, I talk with my girlfriends about this that are in relationships with musicians. You can't choke out their creativity. You can't push their fan
Or their
base
career,
away, their
yeah.
career, their fan base. You just really have to go with the punches. You can't be that jealous person that expects them to pick up the phone and call you the second they get off the stage. And who are you with? What are you doing? You can't be that person. So, and if you are that person, your chances are you won't be in that relationship for very long. It's not at all conducive to, and it's not good manners, I think, either. You know, like when you think about, when I think about like all the things that I love to do and how I do it, to have somebody breathing down your back about what you're doing, you know, who you're doing it, who is that person standing in front of the stage, you know, like my sense of humor gets me really far in my relationship, I think, with Ira. You know, like I have a good understanding and sense of humor about all of those things.
Be lighthearted,
you know,
about a lot of stuff,
yeah.
you know, and just.
And we have really strong boundaries too, you know, like, you know, we're not cheaters. We don't cheat on each other. You know, we don't have close friendships with people from the opposite sex. You know, it's just, we have lots of friends, you know, and of course he has female friends, I have male friends, but we don't like welcome a lot of that into our lives personally. Like, you know, he's not going to be on the phone with some girl for 20 minutes, and I'm not going to be on the phone with some guy for 20 minutes. You know,
and I'll say sobriety plays a big part in that too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah,
you know, I think that ends up being a problem for a lot of people. I mean, it was a problem for me in the past. Like, you know, when you drink, you have less filter, kind of open, you know.
yeah,
And, you know, it makes you get jealous easier. It makes you have miscommunication easier. But when you're sober, I mean, she's like, oh, who's that girl? You know, we'll just laugh about it. Oh, she's cute. You know, like she wishes, you know, stuff like that. So we just play around with it. But the other thing also about like traveling and having this rigorous, crazy schedule and uncontrollable schedule, because like, look, bands have a whole team of people. You know, they'll have booking agent, manager, the guys in the band, crew, and people. So like, we're booking a tour. There's a lot going on, a lot of flights, a lot of travel plans, all this. So it's like, and she's like, oh, hey, in 3 months, now she's a Virgo, okay? So she likes to plan, and she's good at it. That plays a big part of how good she is at what she does, because she was naturally born in a lot of ways to do this kind of thing. I mean, she just has a natural instinct to.
Jessica, when's your birthday?
August 25th.
Okay, so I'm a Libra. I identify what you do, and I'm a planner like that too. I get it.
Yeah, Robert. Yeah, you're right past that. So, you know, basically, you know, with that being said, she, you know, she's also learned to bend with that too, because it's like that's the thing about being a musician that, you know, has these crazy schedules. Sometimes we get last minute tours and stuff. She's like, hey, in 3 months, it's my relative's birthday. We're gonna drive to this other state because we haven't done it in a few years, and you know, so just so you know. And then, okay, I'm gonna do it. But then if something comes up, she knows, is like, hey, we just got offered this tour. Like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this birthday without you. So, you know, and that's the life of a musician too. You end up missing a lot of birthdays and
celebrations,
you know,
and things like that.
But she's great about it. You know, it's like my son, Ira, he, when he graduated, I was on tour. You know, it was a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, but she went Facebook Live or not Facebook Live, FaceTime with me to help me be a part of it. You know, and so she's awesome like that too.
Yeah,
very family oriented, knows how to kind of bridge the gap on a lot of that stuff, and you know, make it feel better.
I was going to say too, you know, like, you know, I also work in the music industry. So, you know, I also bring a lot to the table for a lot of bands or a lot of individual artists. But in his case, you know, like I always get behind his projects. You know, I invest my time into his projects, you know, and do the social media for it. I'll do some publicity for it. I send out press releases, you know, I'll go out on tour, you know, like sometimes we probably, you know, you probably met me the first time on tour on the Mayhem Festival or something, you know, where I was able to be out there on the road with him.
And that's what we do a lot too. Is like if I'm going to be gone for a month, she'll come with me for the first couple of days, 3 or 4 days. That's plenty. I'm sure she's like, okay, I'm done with that. Because, you know, it's not fun for a lot of people doing this kind of rigorous traveling stuff. Then she'll fly out for a weekend here in the Midwest, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks in, and then the end of the tour she'll come out for the last 5 days. So we figure out ways to kind of
we try not to go more than a couple of weeks at a time without
the
seeing
long
each
stretches.
other.
Yeah,
because you know that's really hard on a relationship.
I have 2 days off. I'll fly home. Literally for a day sometimes. And then fly back out. You know, because that just it kind of fixes all those little feelings like, oh my God, this feels terrible. This is painful. This is sad. This is, you know, heartbreaking. This is, you know, and it just kind of helps, you know, ease that.
It does,
you know.
And, you know, I get to go to a lot of really awesome places. You know, I'm a rock chick and a metal chick myself. So, you know, I'm as into the music as, you know, another fan might be. And
but we love traveling together as well.
We've been all over the world.
We do a lot of trips outside of touring. We've been to Egypt together on vacation. We've been to China together.
I was going to say that, you know, Sherry, when I think of Ira and then I think of Jessica, I'm thinking of her always behind the camera shooting iconic photos. So when I think of the one that they, you know, when you guys proposed, I think of that, even though Jessica was in it, I'm like, in my mind, that's Jessica set it up like that. But no, it didn't happen like that, obviously, now that I know. But that's how I saw it. And then I think of the one with the pyramid, which is a classic photo. I show that to every single one of my rock fans in case they haven't. I want to make sure they see it. This is what a true couple does when they go away and do their thing and they take something iconic like that. Talk about
that was a trip that we took. It was very on the spot. I just happened to be watching this like pyramid show, and we're like very into all of this stuff. So it wasn't like it was just some random thing, but I just happened to look online to see what it would cost to go to Egypt for 10 days. And the pricing was surprisingly like very reasonable. I don't know why. Something had just happened. Like the economy had really tanked in Egypt and there were problems. And we booked a trip and we went to Egypt. We were there for 10 days and it was
the Arab Spring had happened probably 6 months earlier or something. So it was like they were just rebuilding and kind of getting.
It was wild. It was not music related at all, but Ira brought his guitar and in hopes that we would be able to do some quick photos with the pyramids, you know? And so we get there and he has his instrument. Everywhere you go in Egypt, if you're an American especially, you should definitely have a tour guide. And we had somebody that was with us and he was great. And we went to the park and they were like, you cannot bring that instrument in here. They don't allow music. They don't allow instruments. You can't meditate. You can't picnic. You can't sit in a yoga position. Like they were like, no, long hair guy. No music for you. And it was like, we're like, what? And he, you know, he doesn't take no for an answer very
that's the last story.
And it took about 25 minutes of bartering with
I was arguing with the head guy there.
Yeah, with the manager of the park. And the guy just was like, okay, you have 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
He was eating his lunch, I'll never forget. And I turned on my camera actually. I started filming it and I let him know. I'm like, all right, I'm filming this. I'm bringing this to the consulate. I'm like, you know, like.
Good for you, Ira. That's something I would have done too. Good for you.
Yeah.
And he was eating a sandwich. She's like, no. He's eating.
Yeah, he was not going for it.
He kept eating.
He's looking at me and
I'm like, but where's the manager? He's like, I am the manager. I'm like, who's your boss? You talk to your boss. I'm filming this right now and I'm showing him. He's like, yeah, go ahead.
He's looking at me like, listen, white woman, you have no privilege
now,
here.
There's about 10 guys standing around him with machine guns.
Yes.
Okay.
True.
There's guys standing around with machine guns while I'm arguing with this guy. I mean,
Oh my God.
and Jessica's like, oh my God, this is gonna get this.
He said, okay, you have 5 minutes, and I had the camera, and I,
He's like, hurry up. He was all mad. He's like, oh, do it quick.
Yeah, and I was able to I think I got like over 300 shots in like 5 minutes of being
Wow.
the guitar. Yeah, it was like
We're just like turning.
I was on the ground. I was like shooting up at him.
They wouldn't let us go behind the wall.
Yeah.
So there's a wall behind me and then the pyramid. So we have that wall there, but it's like we were trying to get it just right. But I'm like, can we just go on the other side? No, hurry up.
Right here, that's it. That's all you get. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, but that trip was incredible. We
went inside the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, inside into the King's Chamber.
Yeah.
We hung out in there for a while. We actually did meditate in there a little bit because we had the room to ourselves for a little while.
Which was crazy that we even had it by ourselves because,
totally.
it's you can't do that.
Yeah, you're inside the pyramid.
Inside the big pyramid. Up
at the top there, there's a room up at the top inside.
Yeah.
And one cool thing I did was I came with this idea last minute. It's like, okay, I took an Attica 7 song that I just recorded before I left. I played it with my phone because it's very echoey in there. It sounds cool. So I played the song on my iPhone and then I filmed with her phone me doing that. So there's a video of me with my song. You can hear it being played inside the King's Chamber.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was just an idea I had last minute, and I like to do cool things like that. I'm like, I never thought I would go to the Great Pyramid. Never thought I would go inside the Great Pyramid, let alone did I ever think my music has been played inside the King's Chamber.
Exactly.
I mean, think about how long it's been there. I mean, we don't even know how long it's been there, but think how magical, auspicious, and this is like it's funny because when we first got there, we actually went the day before, and I didn't bring my guitar. We went back a second day to do this. So the first day we just went just to see it because, think about it. If you've never been there, we see this all our life still on the back of the dollar bill. It's like this magical thing that it just seems like it doesn't even seem real in our minds almost to Americans, I think. And I really wanted to see this. We're walking up. And I'm looking at her, and she's crying. She's got tears. We're walking up, and our tour guide's like, "You guys all right?" I'm like, to see this thing in person. I couldn't wait to see what it looked like to the eyes in person. How big is it? Is it like the size of a McDonald's, or is it really? Like how big is this thing? And we're walking up, and this thing is so beautiful, so massive, and so like I look at her, and she's like, she's crying, and I got tears coming out. And our tour guide's like, "You guys all right?" And I'm like. You have no idea. This is the most magical thing ever.
Yeah.
We didn't know if this was real, and here it is in front of us. Oh my God! I never thought
if you're Egyptian and you live in Cairo, then you see them like we see the mountains in Santa Clarita.
And then you turn around, there's a Pizza Hut there. You're like, oh wow, okay.
There really is a Pizza Hut, like right across the street from the Sphinx, which is right there in the Pyramids Park. But
yeah, because where the pyramids are, if you look at it from one angle, it's just a desert in the background. But if you turn around, there's the city of Cairo.
There's the city of Cairo, it's Giza,
It's very interesting. Giza. Yeah.
It took us 22 hours to get there. So we arrived in Egypt. It was a very long trip. So we arrive and we get into the hotel, and the hotel is like right next. You're supposed to be able to like look out your window and see the pyramids.
We could see it right out.
But it was dark when we got there. So I was like, oh my God, I cannot go to sleep without seeing this view. And so we fell asleep. I set my clock for like when sunrise was, and we watched the sunrise, and there were the pyramids, like right outside our balcony window. Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, it was. I recommend it to anybody, but you have to definitely have a tour guide for sure. It's not easy to navigate yourself around, and women have to be, especially careful. I had to wear the head dressing a few times when we went to temples, and like blondes are not. You would do much better, Sherry, with your pretty brown hair. You could hide easier than the stark blonde, walking around.
Yeah, everyone, the guys are yelling, "How many camels?" What are you doing? They're trying to trade camels for Jessica. So it became an ongoing joke, you know. I'd be like, I'll give you 10 camels. I'm like, no, it's 100 minimum. 100
I'm like,
minimum.
no, 1,000 camels at least. You know, I mean, it was.
So Jessica, you're the rock star in Egypt.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely getting a lot of looks walking around Egypt for sure. Yeah, but yeah, it was a magical experience for sure. But we travel a lot together. It's one of our favorite things to do together, and you know.
Well, Jessica.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jessica. When you went to Paris for your proposal, well, unknowns to you, was that your first time in Paris when you were there?
No. I lived in London for 5 years, and
As a
teenager in high school. And my family, we when we lived there for 5 years. We never came back to the United States during those 5 years. My parents were really good about like showing us Europe, and we did a lot of traveling when I lived there. So I had been there.
Her father was in the military.
Yeah, I'd been there 2 other times. It was so beautiful. Paris was incredible. I would love to go back there today.
What is your next goal trip that the two of you'd like to take? Where's your next great destination?
Great destination. Well, the coronavirus has really put a damper on that, I think. So we don't really have any plans just yet, but I would suspect that when the travel bans lift and things get a little bit, easier with the virus, that we'll probably head back to Europe or
Australia would be cool. I've never been there. She's never been there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because I thought, like you were describing the pyramids behind you, that I'm sure, Jessica, you could develop some type of really neat montage of, Ira playing guitar, Taj Mahal or the Great Barrier Reef.
Right,
if you could do, for the audience.
India is cool.
Yeah, we last year we were back in Europe, and we went to back to England, and I hadn't been there since I was in high school, which was a lot of fun. We went to Stonehenge, and we did a lot of things like that. So yeah, I mean,
was it Sound Bath?
Yeah, we went to Bath. Oh my God, it was so gorgeous.
Where they have the Roman baths that they built in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know where life's going to take you, but traveling is a big part of what we love to do together. But, our kids they're getting older now, and like I said, the coronavirus for me and for both of us, we're taking it pretty seriously. We're not like going out very much. Everything, we live in Los Angeles, so things are pretty shut down. We're lucky that we have each other and our family to spend our time with, but really we just I'll go for walks in the park and go to the grocery store, and that's about it right now. It's kind of like, it's just a weird time for sure.
It's totally, it has its pros and its cons for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're worried about the world. We want the world to be a good place for everybody. And, do we know what's going on? I don't think anybody does. It's like we see the reports on the media and stuff, not to get all political about it or anything, but, I'm in the belief system that, let's just say it's all fake, hypothetically. We're talking about our lives, so you still have to be cautious, because if it's not, we don't know, so it's like, do I want to wear a mask? No. But do I? Yes, because, it's not hurting me to wear a mask, is it going to protect me? Maybe,
we don't know.
It's better than not,
yeah.
So, but on the positive side, like for me, especially, I jokingly say that this state of living that we're in right now is so much like the musician's life. So it's not that much different for me. It's like, when you're working on a record, you don't get to go out a lot. It's like you're focused on, everyone's like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? Want to go to a Magic Mountain, Six Flags, which is down the street from our house. It's like, no, I'm recording. So it's like this whole lockdown concept. Musicians, when you're on tour, you're part of the schedule. It's like you're hanging out with friends. You're in Holland. You're hanging out with some friends. They're like, Ira, we got to go, man. It's a 10-hour drive to the next city. You know, it's like you're on someone else's schedule. So it's like that. You know, it's like you have to kind of follow this schedule that the world has us on right now. So welcome everybody in the world to know what it's like to be a musician. So now you
And
know.
with that, I want to thank everybody because we got about 60 seconds. Hey, this is why I wanted to have a part 2. My mouth is dropped. So for me, Jessica, you don't know this. My favorite songs is Let Me Go Rock and Roll by Kiss. Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. And this is coming from a straight black guy who's not married to kids. That tells you how not normal I am, because I don't follow the rules well either. And the girls will tell you that, which is why we have our viewership, which is great. And I couldn't be happy because it's all about gender empowerment. I always wanted to talk to you, Jessica. I remember the first time I had Ira come down to Adrenaline Radio in Whittier. I'm still amazed that he came that way, but I was so honored because I got a chance to know him outside of his music. So I tell everybody in the world about him, and then now I tell them about your couple. So when I was telling them about Sherry, I'm like, Sherry, I want you to talk to them because I adore these people, not only just as people, but I got a chance to see how tough Jessica can be. This is a woman. Though you don't want to mess with her behind the scenes because this is time. You know, she knows exactly what she's doing. She's organized like me. And I got a kick at that, seeing that in them. But social media links, both of you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you too. And I've always heard so many stories about you as well. And it's always a pleasure to know you and to have met Sherry as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give your social media links for the audience.
So his is Instagram is Ira Black _official, and mine is Jessica _T_Chase on Instagram, and Ira Black on Facebook, Jessica Chase on Facebook. You guys can find us, and we're
and I would recommend you go to Australia because that's my favorite country. You guys would love.
I know, it'd be cool to go there. Yeah.
And then Sherry, your social media.
Facebook, Sherry Nelson, Instagram, Twitter, XOXO, Sherry XO.
Awesome.
And with that, I want to thank everybody. This is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Women on TV.tv, the worldwide TV network, and IT247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And as we all know, if you see someone add a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it.
Yes.
See you next week.